Hello everybody and welcome back. Hope we're having a great day and we're all doing well. So secondary gadgets are one of the most important things in Rainbow Six Siege. I didn't even realize how many there was in the game until I was doing the script for this video, because when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, there's actually quite a lot, and sometimes a secondary gadget can make or break the round. So just like how I made a video for every attacker and every defender, I thought I should make a video showcasing one mistake with every single secondary gadget in Rainbow Six Siege. This will be covering secondary gadgets on both sides, so both attacker and defender secondary gadgets, because hopefully this will make you better with them. And if I'm going to be honest, I don't really see many creators talk about secondary gadgets. Everyone uses them, yet I feel like they are some of the least talked about pieces of utility in this game. So if you do go and enjoy this video, be sure to drop it a like, consider subscribing since we are trying to hit 100k by the end of the year, and as well as this, maybe drop a comment since it does help with the YouTube algorithm. And without further ado, let's get into this. So for our first gadget, we're going to be talking about the breach charge. Now the breach charge is one of the most iconic gadgets in this game. It allows you to use the destructible environment of the map to its fullest potential, and is a key gameplay component of Rainbow Six Siege itself. And yes, we all know it can be used to make holes in soft walls, play vertical, but a big mistake I'll see a lot of people make is that they won't use the breach charge to destroy defender gadgets. This thing has an explosive radius. Sometimes, for example, let's say there's a Jaeger ADS on the other side of a window on a barricade, not directly on the barricade itself, but close to it. If you place a breach charge on that window and blow it up, it will destroy that ADS. And in the example I'm showing, a frost mat. A lot of people won't use a breach charge on a barricade since they see it as a waste, since you can shoot it open or punch it, but if there's a gadget that's close enough on the other side, that breach charge will take that out, meaning that using the breach charge on that is actually very viable. This can also be used in other situations. Let's say you want to destroy one of Maestro's evil eye and there's a soft surface beside it. Again, not necessarily saying the evil eye itself is on the soft surface, but if it's close enough where you can detonate that breach charge, it will destroy the gadget around it. But yeah, just remember that breach charges can be used to destroy things other than just soft surfaces. Next up, we have the Bulletproof Camera. This is one of the best secondary gadgets you can get on defense. Not only does this give you intel, but as well as this is the only defending gadget which has an EMP part of it, and you can shoot an EMP blast at any gadget you see. So if you see a drone driving up, you can shoot an EMP blast on it and it will temporarily disable the drone, and in this time you can destroy it. Now, there are many ways for attackers to deal with bulletproof cameras. They can destroy it with explosives. As well as this, they can go up and punch it. The camera will still be there, however the vision will be completely gone and you can only hear sound. And as well as this, if attackers want to completely destroy this camera without an explosive, they can shoot the sides of them, which will completely break them. So a big mistake I'll see a lot of people do with bulletproof cameras is they'll just place them in locations where it's really easy to hit the sides. You gotta start thinking outside the box a little bit and put them in positions where hitting the side is quite hard and attackers have to go through quite a lot of effort. A very simple way of doing this is if you're placing a bulletproof camera on the backside of a reinforcement, instead of just placing it on this reinforcement and the sides are very easy to shoot when anyone comes near, if you use a shotgun, a bailiff, or even just standard bullets and make a hole in the soft wall, which is part of the reinforcement, you can place the bulletproof camera inside of this, and this will sort of be tucked away, and that means hitting the sides will be a lot harder since the attackers then have to get very up close and personal with the wall to even try and hit the side. And by the time they're even that close to a camera, you or your teammate should already have a cross angle on them and taken them out. You can be very creative with your placements, but this one is a very simple one which anyone can do, and it doesn't take that much effort to give your camera a lot more protection. Next up, we have the secondary Hardbreach charge. And a big mistake I see a lot of people do with this Hardbreach charge is a mistake I see a lot with some of the primary Hardbreachers as well, and that is the placement of the gadget. If you place the secondary Hardbreach charge low enough on the wall, you can make a perfectly crouch level hole which anyone can walk through. Now, I've explained multiple times as to why crouch level holes are so much better than vaultable ones, but I'll quickly explain it again. If you have a vaultable hole, that means you are locked in an animation when you jump in, so your range of motion is limited, and as well as this, you make a noise when you jump through, giving away your position. However, if it's a crouch level hole, you're not locked in any animation, and as well as this, it is pretty much silent, so if anyone is playing off sound, they don't necessarily know if you're still on the other side of the breach or you have walked through. So just be sure to keep that in the back of your mind next time you are using the secondary Hardbreach charge. Right, next up we have impact grenades, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves in the game. If you do not need to use your impact grenades to make rotates in sight, by that I mean you have a teammate who has the bailiff, the super shorty, a primary shotgun, then please let your teammate do it. Do not waste impact grenades on rotate holes unless they are necessary. Impact grenades are so good at slowing down the push for the attackers. One of the best things you can do with an impact grenade is impact trick a breach, especially if they have Ace, which is pretty likely since he is one of the most played and best attackers in the game. A defender I play a lot of the time is Azami, and I run the impact grenades on her. The moment I hear an ace charge being thrown at the breach, I get ready to throw an impact grenade. That is because after that first detonation of ace, I can then throw an impact grenade at that open bit of the breach. It will destroy the rest of his Selma, and yes, attackers now have a hole in the breach, but that is not big enough for them to enter. Attackers are now limited to a non-entry level hole in the breach, which can also be used against them. If ace goes to throw another Selma at this breach, oh well, I'm close enough to throw my second impact and blow up that one as well. I think a lot of people really underestimate what impact grenades are really good for, because when you think of impact grenades, you think, oh, well, you just use them to make rotations in sight. But no, impact grenades are hard counters to operators such as Osa, and especially operators such as Ace. So yes, just make sure someone on your team has the capability of opening up soft walls without having to waste impact grenades, because trust me, these things are so much better than just using them on rotates. Next up, we have the deployable shields, and a big mistake I see a lot of people make with these is just simply the placements. Yes, you can place a deployable shield in the middle of the room, which faces a doorway, and you can just take quick peeks onto people on the other side and hopefully get a kill. But you can use deployable shields in a lot more versatile ways, especially when placing them on top of tables. Not only will this give you a really strong one-way angle onto a doorway, since you're so high up, you'll see the attacker before they even get to see you, but as well as this, you can then drop down below the table and use this deployable shield as extra cover to swing between. A lot of the time, a deployable shield placed on top of a table in the middle of a site is actually way more useful than one placed randomly in the middle of the room, which then blocks the flow of the defenders themselves and sort of just messes up your own defense. Again, not saying a deployable shield placed on the floor is bad, but you can change up your defensive hold quite a bit by placing it on tables, pianos, and basically anything else which is elevated. I don't want to keep using Chalet as an example, but you can do this on Chalet and it's very good. By placing the deployable shield on top of the piano, it just gives you a really good angle, and attackers have to do something about this because the chances of them winning the swing is pretty low. Just think outside the box a little bit when it comes to your deployable shield placements. Next up, we have one of the strongest attacker gadgets, the secondary EMP nade. And luckily, it seems like a lot of people are using these correctly. They are an alternative to Thatcher. However, a lot of people seem to forget that they do act a bit differently. And that is the fact that the EMP impact nades are in the name, they act as an impact. The moment it hits the wall or the object, it will instantly disable it. Thatcher, when you place it, although it does have a bigger range, does take a few seconds before it does detonate. So you should use this instant detonation thing to your advantage. For example, if you're playing against a clash, you can just impact her instantly and it will disable her electricity, allowing you to safely run up and push her. If there's a Fenrir gadget above a doorway, instantly deny it an impact and go for that swing. Anytime there is a defensive gadget such as a Fenrir gadget or another form of trap on a doorway, a lot of defenders will let their guard down. So with you with an impact EMP being able to disable those gadgets with not a lot of notice, then defenders can easily be taken off guard. With Thatcher, there's a distinct sound effect when you first throw the EMP, and that can alert defenders that in a few seconds, that EMP is going to go off and they can prepare for it. But with this impact EMP, it does it instantly, and at the same time as detonation, you can already be swinging and taking out that defender. So yes, they are basically the same gadget as Thatcher's EMPs. Thatcher does have a bigger range and longer disable time, but because of the instant impact aspect, they can be used slightly differently. Next up, we have the brand new secondary gadget, which is the observation blocker, and with operators such as Dokkaebi being highly picked right now, as well as Brava being a very strong operator, think a bit forward with your observation blocker. Keep placing them in locations where attacker drones will get their lines of sight blocked, but also keep in the back of your mind thinking, right, if our default cameras get hacked here, how can an observation blocker basically still make them more useful for us and not give a lot of intel to the attacking team? One of the best examples of this, in my opinion, is top floor Nighthaven Labs by the IT breach room, is placing your observation blocker on the garage door. Now, the reason why I recommend placing it here is one, it's very common for a lot of drones to sit in the back of garage by the bushes and give intel to anyone who is on rafters and by the breach. But as well as this, there is also a default camera directly above it. If this default camera gets hacked, it won't be able to give intel on anyone playing past this observation blocker. So despite that camera being hacked, it's still not as strong as it typically is. If it's hacked by Dokkaebi, that means defenders can still use it for their original intention since they can see through the observation blocker. And if it's hacked by Brava, which means defenders can no longer access it, it still won't be given a strong amount of intel. It just seems like not a lot of people are realizing that yes, this is a counter to pretty much any attacking intel device, but this is also good for late round when Dokkaebi or Brava have cameras. Next up, we have frag grenades, and one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people doing with frag grenades is that they just won't conserve them enough, and as well as this, they won't play below the sights with them. Nading from below is one of the best things in this game because not only is there most likely not an ADS or Wamai magnet under the sight, a magnet is more likely likely, but a lot of the time there won't be one there. But even if one of those gadgets is in the room you're nading, they won't be able to stop this grenade. Grenades can be easily used to clear people out of positions, and when you start playing maps a good amount of times, you can learn a lot of default positions people will play. Like for example, when you're attacking Villa, rather than trying to utility dump with a grenade on study balcony, if you go below, make sure it's clear, you can start easily nading a lot of default positions from below, and as well as this, you can more accurately get a kill if you have a cam in sight. Like when you're attacking Aviator, there's a high chance that there will be someone playing in the vault. You can easily nade this position from below and take them out. At the current point of upload, only 4 operators in the game have frag grenades, that is Sledge, Ayana, Glaz, and Nook. So there isn't a lot of variety in operators that can bring frag grenades, but that is the reason why these 4 operators are so good, and it does seem like Ubisoft are very hesitant to give any more operators grenades at this current point in time for reasons such as this. Make sure you start using frag grenades from below the site, since it is going to take a lot of people off guard, but you will have to start mastering how to throw them at a perfect time. But when you do start to learn how to do it, you do become a force to be reckoned with. Next up we have Barbed Wire, and a big mistake I see a lot of people do with this Barbed Wire is quite similar to the mistake I said about Legion in my Defenders video, but that is just the fact that they'll put them in positions which are a bit too late to give the defender any info, and even when that attacker hits the Barbed Wire, they're already in a good enough position to take out said defender. I'll use the same example of red stairs on Clubhouse like I did with Legion, since it is just such a common sight and it will help you understand it, but when playing this, make sure not to put your Barbed Wire at the top of the stairs. Because yes, when an attacker pushes this position, they will hit the Barbed Wire, and that will give away their position. However, in that position, they can easily take you out if you're by rotate or by the main breach. You want to put your Barbed Wire way lower down on the staircase, since by the time the attacker walks in it, whether they are punching it or just walking through, you will hear that, and that gives you way more time to reposition and react to the person walking up the staircase. This should be done with pretty much any intel gadget, as well as the proximity alarm. We will talk about the proximity alarm in a bit about a different mistake, but the same applies here. You want to give yourself as much as a warning as possible, and if you're going to place them at the top, then they might as well not even be there, since it isn't even going to help you out that much. So just remember, the Barbed Wire won't do much by itself. You need to be there to act off of it, so make sure you are helping yourself out and putting them in good positions like this. Right, next up we have flash grenades, and I know this is going to sound so simple, but if you see an enemy playing, throw your flash grenade at them and then swing them when they're blind. I know that sounds so simple, but the amount of time I'll see people only use flash grenades for burning ADS, which is a viable use for them, or just randomly lobbing them in sight and hoping that someone, I guess, blinded walks in front of you. But even in high ranks, I see people with 3 flash grenades in their pocket trying to swing a corner where they know an enemy is there. Even if you don't know the enemy is there, throw a flash grenade and try and take them by surprise if you are just going to be face checking that angle. Similar to my Ying mistake I said in the attacker video, I feel like a lot of people in this game will successfully flash an enemy, put that enemy at a significant disadvantage, and then do nothing about it. Ubisoft literally buffed flash grenades that even if you turn around, you still get flashed by them. That is massive, yet so many people will throw a flash grenade, blind someone, and then be too scared to push. Use that advantage to push out that enemy and get that free kill. Stop being so scared. You're the one with vision, they aren't. Unless that is a warden, but half the warden players these days don't even remember he has a gadget, and the amount of times I've seen a warden run away from a flashbang is embarrassingly high, because a lot of people are just using them for the 1.5 and aren't actually good at the game. So when you flash a defender, act on it. Stop holding back on that window, because they're just going to get their sight back once again, and you just wasted a flash grenade for no reason. Again, I know this sounds like common sense, but I just feel like so many people don't act on flashbangs in this game, and just start having that little bit of confidence once you flash the enemy, because 95% of the time, they are going to be blind. Next up, we have the proximity alarm, and this one isn't too in-depth, but just make sure to put them in positions where it's really inconvenient for the attacker to destroy it, such as high up locations, and just in places which will divert their aim and attention, since a lot of the time proximity alarms will be near the doorways of sight, and the last thing an attacker wants to do is look away from that doorway. I really like to do this outside double door on piano on top floor chalet. You can hide the proximity alarm in a lot of positions here, and in doing so, when someone is standing in this position about to take the swing onto piano, it will keep beeping in their ear and giving away their position. Not only is this giving you as a defender the intel that someone is still there, since it will keep beeping, but as the attacker, this is just extremely annoying and it really does put you off. But as well as this, if you then want to turn to destroy this proximity alarm, you have to completely look away from the angle you should be holding. You should just really use this as a massive distraction for the attackers, since it will be giving away their position, but then it's got to be something they have to deal with, or just accept the fact that their position is constantly explicitly revealed, and that annoying beep is just going to constantly be there until they're out of its radius. Next up we have smoke grenades, and I feel like these are very underutilized. Yes, you'll see a lot of people use them alongside a glass, and as well as this, they'll use them to go for a plant since it does give them cover. But there's one major thing which I don't see a lot of people using smoke grenades for, and is also basically the same essence of the operator of sense, and that is just taking sights and isolating angles. You can easily isolate angles, especially when attacking very contested doorways, just by using smoke grenades. For example, I've done this on Chalet bottom floor before. I'll see if I can find the clip, but if not, I'll do like a little custom game recreation. But basically, I successfully smoked off below door as well as bottom fireplace door, and I just pretty much crouch walked all the way into connector and took the enemies playing in wine by surprise. I feel like this might be the same situation as the whole flashbang one, and that is the fact that a lot of people who throw these gadgets aren't sure if they were successful, meaning they don't know if they blind the defender or if the defenders can see past the smoke grenade since it didn't deploy in a good position, and therefore they lack the confidence to push. But I'm telling you right now, a majority of the time, you will be successful with these gadgets if you think you are successful with them. Don't doubt yourself. Use that to your advantage, and just like how you should use the advantage when you flash someone, you should start smoking off doorways even if you aren't going for a plan but you just want to sneak into sight. Isolate off those angles, and you should be doing this with sense as well, so here's a little sense tip. A lot of the time defenders won't expect you to push on it, and that is how you can magically appear behind someone in the bomb site. So yeah, smoke grenades are good when you have a glass or if you're going for a smoke plan, but they're also just good at blocking the sight of the enemies and just walking in and taking them out. Next up we have the Nitro Cell, again one of the best defending gadgets on the team, and a big common mistake you'll see a lot of people doing is that they'll just waste it. A lot of people seem to forget that a Nitro Cell is plant denial. Now, just like with all of these, don't get me wrong, if you're in a situation where you can get a Nitro Cell kill, then I recommend using it. If someone is around the corner, they're trapped in that corner, you know that it's safer for you to Nitro Cell them rather than attempt to take a gunfight, then use the Nitro Cell. I'm not saying always preserve your gadgets until endgame, but for example, don't waste them on rotates, don't just start randomly Nitro Celling the roof or start randomly throwing them outside of windows just on the off chance that someone might be there. Nitro Cells are one of the best plant denial objects in the game, and as it currently stands, attackers don't have a form of Jaeger on attack unless Brava does hack a Jaeger ADS or a My Disc, then yes, Nitro Cells will be caught, but once you throw that Nitro Cell and it's near an enemy, they have to react quick to shoot it or else they're going to die. And the worst time for you as an attacker to have a Nitro Cell thrown at you is when you're going for a plant. Luckily, it does seem like a lot of people do leave Nitro Cells for plant denial, because just make sure you're not wasting them early in the game, because on maps such as Bank Bottom Floor, when attackers are funneling in through server and are going to go for a plant on the default wall, one Nitro Cell in the pocket will save you. A lot of people expect a Nitro Cell here, so they'll try and bait one out, but if you have more than one, this thing is going to win the round. Next up we have Claymores, and Claymores are a very strong piece of utility to help with jump outs, run outs, and flank watch. And a big mistake I see a lot of people make with Claymores is that they just forget that a lot of the time they can be easily shot by the defender, and that will then take you as the attacker by surprise since you thought a Claymore was watching that angle. Even if you have it on the other side of a window and a defender jumps out onto it, there is a few seconds of grace period where the defender can shoot that Claymore and it won't explode on them. That is why if you're maybe placing them on windows, as sort of util dump as this may sound, try and place two on them. Place them on either side of the window, and for the most part, no one is going to be quick enough to shoot both of these before at least one of them detonates. Doubling up on Claymores isn't an uncommon thing at all, it happens all the time in high ranks, and it's just for that extra layer of safety. A lot of the time defenders won't expect a double Claymore, even if it's on a doorway where they can see the Claymore lights. If they see a Claymore, they only really assume that one is there, so the moment they shoot one of them, they then go for a run out and hit the other one. I'm not saying you should do this for every single window or doorway you Claymore, but if it's a very common location where people constantly jump out from or swing, then this should be something you should start doing. And so everyone, that was one mistake for every secondary gadget in Rainbow Six Siege. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about which secondary gadget is your favorite in the game and what other common mistakes people make. Be sure to drop a like on this video if you did enjoy, dislike it if you did not, subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you all later. I love you all, stay safe, peace.